Right, well here we are on Horseshoe Lake again. There's the hut, there's the lake, here's Dick, and all his clobber, and here's Woodstock, and we just got to set up the telemetry and then we'll launch. There is the telemetry tent, which works really well actually.
Does it?
The problem we had last time was that the linkage between the top of this rudder shaft and the horizontal link to the servo was slipping because I hadn't done it up tightly enough. So I've redone that,
Yeah.
put a flat on the shaft,
Right.
and done it up really tightly with two stainless steel M4 bolts going through it,
And
as recommended by Roy.
And a bit of Loctite, or
And no Loctite, because I've ordered some Loctite.
right.
And so I'm going to turn it on, and Dick is going to test whether the holding torque is present. So
Right.
if you give me the camera, well, I'll like.
If you turn that on.
Right, it's on.
Right. So, and yeah, there's some good resistance there.
That is just the autopilot turning on.
That's
5
it,
seconds
trying to
later.
steer on the course
over to the right.
over there. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm now going to do this up, and then Dick is going to turn his GoPro type thingy on. Is it you moving? Who's moving that? Is that the radio control?
No.
What's it doing?
The radio control is sitting down in the tray down there, not being used at all.
Oh, it's just random variations of the compass
Yeah.
thing. That's the radio control there.
Okay.
That's the end of the screwdriver. So,
Now,
do you want to do your magic stuff with this?
we can do that, and do we also want to just test the RC, just to the radio control to make
Yes,
sure?
well, if you give me the camera,
Right,
I'll give you the RC, and you can
That's still filming.
verify that
Right,
you've got.
So, if you want to watch what I'm doing on here, I'll put the aerial up. Turn it on. Right, so that should be now under.
It's so dark I can't actually see anything. Oh, there's the boat, I see, right. Yeah, so there's the rudder. Left and right?
That's full right, and that's full left.
Right, that's about, is that 60 degrees?
Yeah, probably something like that. That should be. Now you see, it's not going back to centre. That's left again, and now it's not left. Nothing.
That's not right. Not correct, is it?
Let me hold that while you just play with it and see.
Oh, well, you've got this full over.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that. You can trim the central point,
Right.
you see. So I'll
Right,
try this again.
Yep.
Pull to the right.
Yep.
Centre. Pull to the left.
Yep.
Centre.
Right.
It doesn't come back so quickly, but.
So it's the trimmer that
yes.
I-
It's easy to
I've missed it.
fiddle with that by mistake.
Yeah.
You don't look terribly thrilled, right?
I'm not at all thrilled. No, I didn't realise that this was turning into a YouTube production.
Launch then, Dick.
Yep.
Have you got your camera on?
Camera's on. I can press the button when we get to the water. Well, I might just press the button.
No, I've got this. Okay, so we just lift and
Here we go. I'll just see. Can't see.
so it's on, right. So as long as you don't press that in your pocket on stage, you should be okay.
Yes. Perhaps I'll put it there. I'll step on it in a minute. Right. Lift when you're ready.
For sure.
Yeah. 07, I mean.
1507. Yes. BST.
BST. Robin does like doing it in Zulu.
Still in shot, son.
Jolly good. Well, it's going okay so far.
Where's it meant to go?
We've got it going clockwise around the
Oh,
course.
I've forgotten that. Yes, I've forgotten that it's supposed to be going over there
Yeah.
to some waypoint over there, and then it goes in front of the island to another one there, and then comes back diagonally to the end of the pontoon.
Yeah.
You hope.
We hope. I'll just have a look at the telemetry.
What we thought, Roy, was that if we went round the way it was originally planned, it would end up coming directly into wind on the return leg, which wouldn't work.
Oh.
That's where either the sail's too powerful or the keel weight isn't far. It needs to be deeper or heavier. Don't really want to make it heavier. Turn right now. 10 degrees to port. Starboard. Might need to be ready for. Where's the ring? Oh, there. Don't really want it in the trees.
No. I can understand that.
So I'm gonna got full right rudder. Well, that's not a very good start, is it?
No.
Damn. Where's Peter? Oh, we're in the trees, Peter.
Oh, look.
Yes.
It's doing things still.
Well, the telemetry's not working.
Did you put the telemetry on the top of the mast?
No, I haven't. I haven't actually plugged it in at all. That's why it's not working.
Where's your checklist? You know what Roy always says?
I know. I've got a checklist. I've got a checklist. But so what's it doing over there?
I don't know, it sort of went out a bit and then the wind caught it and it turned and then it just carried on.
Do you think you can circle it back from there?
It's difficult because the wind,
Did you get a
the
picture of that?
blowing it more in the trees.
Yeah, look, there's something on the sails.
Yeah.
So we're caught in the trees there. I could walk round with a pole if I had a pole, which I haven't.
Oh.
So was it going
Sort
of straight over there, and then
it one of these swerves and
yes,
ended up just going in that direction, which is
not very good, but it is feasible. I think I have never been along there. I reckon I could.
Doesn't go all the way.
No, I reckon I could walk round, and maybe if I can find a long
I've got my long
piece of
poles.
wood. You've got your long
I've
pole.
got my long pole.
Yes, so I'll walk round with that
Right.
and see if I can poke it.
Well, I think we both ought to go round because, or unless you're going to try steering with this.
No.
Whoever pokes it needs to be able to steer it to make sure it's on its way.
We can go round together then.
blow this way.
No, because it is southeasterly wind, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pity the telemetry is not working. Oh, that's because I haven't plugged it in. Right, yes.
So you haven't even attached it to the
the
top of
transmitter is not even on the boat.
boat. That's right.
Transmission on the boat.
It's in my red plastic bag in the car.
There's obviously
because I didn't use my
when you
checklist.
start doing this.
So Dick and I walked round the southern edge of the lake, which took us about 5 or 10 minutes, I suppose. We could easily get to the shore. There was no bog, it's just a wood, but the boat was some way out because of these sort of overhanging and fallen trees that it had got tangled in, and we were just wondering whether unfurling Dick's telescopic pole and wondering if it would be effective in pushing the boat off, when providentially somebody on a paddleboard came to our rescue. So we didn't have to use the pole in the end. You can just see us behind the trees there. That's Dick. It took the paddleboard man some time to get the thing disentangled, because of course with the sail it has a will of its own, and he had to make sure that he didn't capsize his own paddleboard. So he did a good job and got us out of there. And by that time I was holding the radio control, and so I'm stood in this wood looking out over the lake, trying to see Woodstock through all these trees and bushes, and trying to radio control it back to base. It took a long time, but we eventually managed to get it back to base. And then we had to walk back round the lake to meet Roy, who remained motionless on the shore, guarding our equipment, or so he would say. At this point, Dick asked him to tell us where the rudder was, which I thought was a bit much, given that he'd just rescued it from us, rescued the boat for us. So here we are approaching the shore, and I'm still with Dick in the trees on the other side of the lake, desperately trying to radio control this and bring it back to somewhere, but we couldn't sail it back to the pontoon, so we decided in the end to just beach it wherever we could. And here we go. Now, at this point, the Arduino in the rudder servo decides to recalibrate the rudder, and it tries to move it full to port, but it can't do so because the ground is in the way. It goes on doing this for a considerable length of time. I put a cut just in here, but eventually it stops. There's no timeout on the software. It would go on indefinitely doing this, which is a bit stupid anyway, but for some reason it stops naturally about here. Roy comes to inspect the situation, but as he hasn't got any waders, there's not much he can do about it.
I don't know how Robin does it. We seem to be working with half a LoRa and half a radio control. So the radio control was on the boat, but the telemetry wasn't. And the telemetry was on the shore, but the radio control wasn't. So we're trying to resolve those issues now. Whoops. We're very grateful to the man on his paddleboard there who rescued it from the trees for us.
So the mission we were trying to sail was from the point S northwest towards the point P3. This was not actually the mission I intended to sail, but due to a bug in the software, when I selected mission 5 it actually decided to run mission 4. But still they were very similar to start off with. So we are sailing in a straight line from S to P3. Okay. If you watch the roll indicator, in a moment you will see that a massive roll occurs. There, 49 degrees. So there's a strong gust of wind, and as a result of that the boat veers in a westerly direction. Neither the autopilot nor the helmsman initiated any action to cause that change of course. And at this point the helmsman tries to correct the error in the course, but does not apply enough rudder because it only has a proportional control and there's no integral control on it. So the helmsman applies a certain degree of starboard rudder, but it is not sufficient to change the course of the boat, which continues relentlessly towards the trees. Whilst Dick does not have his radio control transmitter in his hand, so cannot intervene. And I am stuck in the telemetry tent watching this. Well, I'm not watching it actually because the telemetry is not working. But so both of us were kind of out of action in one way or another until it actually hit the trees. So here's the return trip under my radio control looking through the bushes. This is the first time I'd really controlled the boat by radio, and it's a somewhat uncertain course, as you can see. I needed to tack to try and get south in the face of a southerly wind, and eventually I managed to get to the beach. This is an alternative visualization of the autopilot's log. We've got on the x-axis elapsed time from the start, and on the y-axis angle in degrees, with 0 being in the center. The red line is the autopilot's desired course, travelling in a northwesterly direction from S to P3. And the green line is the boat's actual heading. And as you can see, for the first 100 seconds or so, the boat remains on its desired heading pretty accurately. The brown line is the rudder position, or the commanded rudder position I should say, and as you can see it remains close to zero, that is to say in its central position for much of the time, because it's the boat is on course. And then the wind picks up and we get this oscillation, eventually culminating in a massive veer to port. And as that happens, the rudder makes a corresponding movement to starboard, but it is not sufficient to overcome the weather helm. I think what happens here is that the heading of the boat adjusts itself until the corrective force exerted by the rudder exactly balances the weather helm force, and then it continues in a more or less stable situation. If we increase the proportionality of the rudder signal, the P element in PID controller, then probably the course would be closer to the desired one. And we actually had an integrator in the software, and we were going to turn it on in a later test, but we never got around to it. But equally, having an I element in the PID controller would gradually increase the rudder movement and perhaps bring the boat back onto its desired heading. Well, that was the first hour of our testing on Horseshoe Lake that day. We actually spent 5 hours on the lake, and you'll be glad to know that I'm not going to put it all up on YouTube. But there is a part 2 to this video, and in it Dick makes a decisive modification to the boat. We sail it again, and the boat disappears around the far side of the island, out of our sight, but not out of sight of Dick's Mavic drone. So, hope to see you then, and thanks for watching.